I know it's been a long time on YouTube, and I'm so sorry for disappearing on you guys. I just got caught up with school, and some changes, and I haven't been, let's just say I haven't been able to find my balance, but I'm definitely gonna get back to soaring realms with that. Okay, but for today, I just want to share my experience with you. The past 2 weeks for me has been really hectic. Let me put this out there first. If you're an F1 student in the United States and your visa get expired, you don't have to renew. As long as you're still in status, your I-20 is still valid, you can still stay within the US. The only limitation is that if you ever have to go out of the country, you need a visa to get back in. If you want to renew your visa, I don't really know how it is done with other international students, but for Nigerians, the first option you have is to go back to Nigeria. I'm not a visa officer. You might have to go on their website to learn more about this. But if you haven't changed your school or you haven't had any rejection after your last approval, you will not need an interview. All you just need is to drop off your documents, but you only have to do this in I think in Abuja. You can't do it in Lagos. So what you need is a drop box. You drop your documents and you get your visa. But for me, I wasn't ready for that expenses. So the other options that you have to renew your visa is maybe to go to Canada or other Caribbean state, like maybe Mexico, Dominican Republic, and some other places around US like that. I got this wrong information that I could go to Dominican Republic with an expired visa. I tried to make findings and talk to people, and I discovered some people actually have traveled to the Dominican Republic with expired US visa. And I went with one of my friends, Shaloa, and she had a Canadian visa. She had a valid Canadian visa, but for me, both visas are expired. So we made plans because we didn't really know how much of a waiting time we're going to need. So we made plans for 1 week. Okay, so we felt like within 1 week the visa should be ready. Like I said, she had her Canadian visa. She passed through the immigration smoothly, and then when it got to my turn, they asked for my I-20, they started asking for documents, and then they started passing me from one officer to the other. And now, the most horrific part of this whole experience is the language barrier. So they were all talking all at once, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. One thing I knew was they kept telling me that my visa has expired, and I was like, okay, I know that, so what's the next thing? And then before you know it, it took me to their boss, to their director, and honestly it was really rude. It was just pressing phone as if I was not a human being. The officer told me, oh, so you are not allowed to come into Dominican Republic with an expired US visa. You're only allowed if your US visa is still valid. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry about that. I thought I could, and now I'm here. And we're like, okay, the only thing we can do is with your documents, we found out that truly you have you have a visa interview, but still you don't have the interview, you don't have the visa, you only have an appointment for the visa interview. And I said yes. And we're like, okay, so we're going to give you time to get your visa, but as soon as you get your visa, you have to leave. And while you're at it, we are not going to allow you to move around in our country because you don't have a valid visa. So what is going to happen is that we're going to have to attach a custodian to you. By custodian, what they mean is that they're going to attach an immigration officer that will go everywhere with you. And the first thing that was weird to me was that the custodian they gave me at first was a man. And then they were like, oh no, he's going to sleep in the living room and he's not going to bother you. And I'm like, how am I going to be comfortable with that? Anyway, Then they said I'm going to have to be paying the custodian $50 per day. Actually, before I went, I told you I made findings, and we discovered that some people who had gone before us were some people were able to get their visa on that same day. They were able to like talk to the visa officer and get their visa that same day, and some maybe the next day they were able to expedite and all of that. So we were thinking, okay, no problem, we could just expedite. The only thing was all our plans of, you know, having fun after getting our visa would not work out, so we'll just have to like get back home early. So I kind of agreed to the arrangements that we'll get a custodian and I'll have to pay the custodian and all of that, because they were actually threatening me. So they were like, if you're not going to agree, we would, you know, get you back into the next flight and send you back into the United States. I already spent a lot of money like on my traveling, and I wouldn't just want to give it all up like that. So I had to agree to the, and it wasn't like I was completely unaware of that kind of arrangement, so I had to agree. But the problem was that we got into Dominican Republic very early. I think we got in around 3 a.m. and the Airbnb we were supposed to move into, we could only check in at 3 p.m. Though we called them and they were able to, like, you know, allow us to check in early, but even at that, 3 a.m. was too early. 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. So they prepared my documents. They gave orders to they gave me the custodian, and we had to wait at the airport, and we experienced a lot of things. We saw people getting locked up, people that weren't cooperating getting locked up. It was that bad for some people that were arguing with them and weren't cooperating for some other things that I don't know. By the time it was morning, that particular shift of immigration officers needed to clock out. They have to hand over my case to the next shifts, so that custodian left. The boss or the director for this shift was a woman, so I was like, okay, maybe it will be easier for me to talk to a woman. But I was wrong. She turned out to be okay. Let me just leave it that way. So she was yelling, she was angry, and I was like, because I couldn't understand their language, I just couldn't understand why she was angry. She was angry, she was making calls, she was doing voice notes, she was doing all of those things, speaking their language, and all of them were talking again, all that. So it was more like I experienced this thing all over again. And she was like, oh, okay, at the end of the day, she was like, if you're not supposed to be in here, you're not supposed to be in here without a visa, and so I have to send you back home. I said, oh, they already told me, and they already told me what I'm supposed to do. And she was like, no, that's a different shift. This is a new shift. So if you're going to stay for your visa, you have your biometrics on Monday. So what I did was that I fixed Monday for my biometrics. I think we got there on Sunday, so I fixed Monday for my biometrics. I didn't know I could fix Sunday for my biometrics, so I fixed Monday for my biometrics and Tuesday for my visa interview. Also, she was like, Monday and Tuesday, and you must get your visa on Tuesday, and you must leave on Tuesday. And I'm like, oh, in that case, I don't have any power over that we might not get it on Tuesday and we might get it on Tuesday. And she was like, no, everybody has been coming, has been getting it on Tuesday, and you have to leave on Tuesday. I said, okay, no problem, I'll try and talk to the consulars and all of that. So she was like, so for that you're going to pay $200. And I'm like, don't be ridiculous. What do you mean $200? Are you saying $200 for all of my stay? She said, no, I have to pay $100 per day, and if I'm not able to get my visa, that means I have to like keep paying $100 per day. Don't forget, the previous shift told me $50 per day, so this even told me that this money is illegal. But I couldn't fight because I was wrong. I was the one who came into their country without a visa. God. Okay, so she was like, if you're not going to agree, we're going to throw you back, blah blah blah, you know, all of those threats all over again. So The only advantage for this shift was that most of the people on this shift were females. So the custodian they gave us was a female. I agreed to I agreed to $100 per day on the condition that I have to get my visa on Tuesday. The custodian took us. Another advantage about the new custodian was that she had a car. So instead of using Uber, we were she was the one taking us around, but she charged us for that separately. So that was how we left the airport. At that point, I just wanted to get done with my interview and get my visa. So I wasn't even thinking about what could happen. So I was resolute on making sure I got my visa that same day. By that time, we could check into the Airbnb. We went to the Airbnb, but fair enough, the custodian didn't really bother us. She took us to the Airbnb, but she wasn't like living with us. She gave us our space. So she was only checking up on us and all of that, keeping track. But don't forget, my documents were with her. Like, she held my passport and my documents so that I would not run away. It was funny though. I don't know why I would come from the United States and run away in Dominican Republic. But anyway, they didn't want me to run away and all of that. So they held on to my documents. So that was on Sunday. So on Monday, the custodian came to pick me and took me for the biometrics. I'm not even going to lie, she was really helpful because she was able to like help bridge some language barriers, and in some places where like I needed to like pay for people to keep my things, like maybe phones or even like earrings and stuff like that, she was the one who kept them. So the biometrics went really smoothly, and the next day was for the visa interview. And the visa interview questions were like the normal interview questions, like which school are you in, like what program, what are you doing, who is sponsoring your program, what's your plan after school, and stuff like that. And my visa got approved, but the problem was that the consular was not willing to expedite the process of my visa. So even though I explained that, the immigration was on my neck, they are threatening me, they want me to go back and all of that, she wasn't having it. And she insisted that the only reason my process can get expedited is if I have like an emergency of life or death, or I have a proof of maybe a medical emergency or something like that, and I didn't have any. So I had to wait for the normal process. And for you to like even expedite you have to track your passport, and you should be able to ensure that it has moved from approved to issued before you can expedite. So I had to wait, and unfortunately there was a public holiday. The July 4th holiday was in between, so I couldn't really do anything until Friday. I did the interview on Tuesday. I don't really do anything until Friday because I called them on Wednesday, but they had already closed when I called them. So I called them on Friday to expedite, and I explained everything to them, and they were willing to expedite. But I wasn't able to get it on that Friday, so I couldn't travel on Saturday. I had to reschedule my flights. I had to like change the Airbnb, rebook another Airbnb. That's another story. I had like some unpleasant experience with some Airbnbs and all of that. They were able to expedite it, and I was able to get my passport on Monday. But that also meant that I spent more time than I planned. And don't forget that the custodian that was with me, I was supposed to be paying $100 per day to her, and that means I spent over 1 week, and there was no way I could pay $100 per day for 1 week. That's like $700. I already paid for the first 3 days, so we had to renegotiate because I insisted that I don't have that kind of money and all of that. So we were able to reach a compromise. I didn't eventually pay $100 per day. We were able to agree on a particular price. I paid her, I got my visa, and she ensured that I returned to US the next day. I really didn't like the experience because I wasn't able to like have fun, like go to places and all of that. But I mean, all that mattered to me was that I was able to get my visa. Because if you go like that, maybe your visa got rejected, it means you have to go back to Nigeria because you don't have visa to get back into US. And going back to Nigeria, you won't be able to do Dropbox because your visa has been rejected once. So you will have to like get another visa application and go for a visa interview, so which is another stress entirely. So I was glad and grateful to God that my visa got renewed, got approved, and all of that. I would advise that if your visa has expired, just go to Nigeria and do Dropbox and get your visa renewed instead of like going to Dominican Republic. You can travel out of the United States with an expired visa, but that country that you're going, what are their visa requirements? But if you still have like 1 month or 3 months on your visa, then Dominican Republic and places like that that's an option for you, especially if you have your Canadian visa. You can actually go to places like that. The process is pretty much easy. All you just need to do is go to the website of the US consulate website and get the visa application form, like the DS-160, fill your DS-160. The process of renewal is the same as the process of like getting your visa in the first place. So just fill your DS-160, pay the visa application fee, then schedule your appointments. You're going to have to schedule 2 appointments, one for the biometrics and the other one for the visa interview itself. So you schedule 2 appointments. There are different places. The embassy is different from the VAC where you do the biometrics. I would advise that you get an Airbnb or a hotel that is closer to the embassy or to the VAC. That will make your life easier. Then what else? I mean, you change money at the airports to pesos, and things are quite cheap there, and the people are not bad. They are nice, I should say, apart from my experience at the immigration anyway. And what else do you need to know? Yeah, for you to enter Dominican Republic, you need something called e-ticket, and you need to get that on their website. I'm going to drop the link for that website. The reason I'm dropping the link for that website is that there are many other websites online that you will see Dominican Republic e-tickets. They are scammers. So they will tell you this is the website, and then they will ask you for money. The e-ticket for Dominican Republic is free, totally free. So if you're on any website that is asking you for money, it is a scam. So don't pay for that e-ticket. So you have to fill 2 e-tickets, one for departure and the other one for arrival. So you need those 2 e-tickets to go through the immigration. Yeah, I feel like that's about all you need. And if you feel like you need to like get your visa immediately, you maybe for some reasons, as long as you have like a good reason, you can ask them to expedite your visa process. Like I said, it all depends on the consular that attends to you and how much of evidence you have to prove that you needed to like leave immediately. But if you're not leaving in immediately, you can go online and look for fun things to do. You might have to like travel away from that place. One more thing you would need to do is you need to pick a venue for your passport pickup. So when you are scheduling your appointment, that's one of the things that you would have to do, and that's an easy thing. There are so many options. Some of them you have to pay, not something much, maybe like $9 or so. But for me, I chose the one that is free. So you can also choose options like venues that are free. And so that's very much all. It's a pretty smooth process if you have like a valid visa. The only reason I had issues was because my visa was expired. So yeah, if you have any question, you can ask in the comment section. Yeah, thank you.